All right, so we already talked about your editing environments, and I recommend either WebStorm or VS Code or Sublime or Atom. We talked about Emmet.io to help you write code a little bit more quickly. It's a nice little tool to have. And the next thing to talk about is GitHub. One thing I will say, though, is don't use Dreamweaver. Okay, so Dreamweaver used to be the tool of choice a decade ago. It's no longer the tool of choice. Don't use Dreamweaver. And you'll still find a lot of videos out there on lens.com or whatever teaching you Dreamweaver, and some people use it, don't use it. It's not the tool for writing good code. It's more of a graphical, GUI, WYSIWYG, drag and drop type of environment. Graphical user interface, GUI, graphical user interface. WYSIWYG is what you see is what you get. WYSYIG, what you see is what you get, or however that translates. It's WYSIWYG. So now we're going to learn about GitHub. So GitHub is social coding, and you need to create an account. So the first time you go there, you'll create an account, but then you'll have an account. And once you have an account, you need to create a repository. And so you'll create a repository just with this little plus up here, new repository. And so I'm just going to create a sample temp, right, whatever. It's just a sample temp repository. That's it. I create that repository. Okay, I hit create. Takes me to this page. Don't navigate away from it. Somewhere on your desktop, you're going to go to your desktop and you'll create a folder, or in your documents, right? Create a folder and name it exactly the same thing that you've just named your repository. So I'm going to name this folder sample temp, okay? And now inside that folder, I want to have all my code on my machine, but then I also want to be able to put all that code up onto GitHub. And then other people can see that code, and potential employers or clients can see that code, and other people can contribute to that code. And so GitHub is really the tool for creating software today. It's version control software. Okay, that's what GitHub is. Helps you control your versions of software and helps other people contribute to it. And so I've created a repo. I created a folder of the same name on my computer. I'm now going to launch my terminal. And so if you're on a Mac, you just open your, your whatever, this deal right here, right there, the Spotlight search, and you type in terminal, right, and it brings up this command line interface. This is a command line interface. Okay, it's not, I'm going to CD, just go Control C, I'm running something there. It is not a graphical user interface. It's command line interface. So sometimes you'll see the command line interface references CLI, command line interface. Sometimes you'll see a GUI, graphical user interface, references GUI. Okay, we are no longer in the graphical user interface like these folders here. That's graphical user interface. Here we are in the command line interface. This is the way, the only way people used to be able to communicate and interact with computers. There were no graphical user interfaces. You did everything through the command line. And you just had to enter commands, right? Back in the 70s.
I remember the first computer I used that my grandma got when I was 10.
Yeah, right?
It was kind of...
You got to do stuff like that. And so there's different commands to get around. And if you're on a Mac, if you're on Windows, I'm going to be showing Unix-based commands. Windows have different commands. But you could download an emulator for Windows. And the easiest way to, on Windows, what you want to do on Windows is you want to go to git install. Just type in git install. And it's going to take you to this website, gitscm.com, downloads, okay? And so you come to this website, gitscm.com, and you download it for Windows. And when you install it for Windows, you basically want to choose all the options, which are like, hey, make this as much like Unix as possible, and I'm sure. And then you'll be able to use the same commands from your git shell, I think it's called. And you could do the same commands on Windows. But you have to install this on Windows regardless, the git thing. So install that on Windows if you're on Windows. And then let me just see, git scm install for Windows and see if there are any screenshots that are noteworthy there to show you the steps. And so this one here, right, use Git from Windows. Use Git and optional Unix tools from the Windows command prompt. And so I would use Git from the Windows command prompt. Use Git and Git bash only. I would do this one, and optional Unix tools. So do that one. And then here, don't worry about that. And I'm just seeing if there's any other options here for you to point out. I think that's good. Just use the Git and optional Unix tools. All right, so you install Git. And now at the terminal, right, I have my repo. I have the folder of the same name, and I have my terminal open. I need to navigate to that. And so I could do print working directory. It shows me where I am on my computer. I could do ls, so list out anything that's in that directory. I could do ls-la and lists it all with details, right? So when I do an ls, I see that I could go to change directory and go to my desktop, right? And then when I do ls there, I could see I have the sample temp, so I could change directory and go into sample temp. And then I could print working directory. I'm in my sample temp folder. I could see what's in there. Nothing's in there. So now that I'm in there, I could do, first thing I want to do is in that folder, I want to add in a git ignore file. And so in my GitHub account, and so I'm just going to go to my GitHub account, I have a git ignore file. And you can just find it under my, and the repo for this class is HTML CSS Bootcamp. You can find it in there. Just scroll to the bottom. There's my git ignore file. Right? So this repo is HTML CSS Bootcamp. There's the git ignore file. Get it, go to raw, get just the text, copy it, and then come back to, I'm just trying to keep this in that order so it makes sense to you. Come back here. I'm in my sample temp folder. Do nano.gitignore, and I'm going to create a gitignore file. In Windows, you have to create this just as a text file with a .gitignore, and that's the name of it. Right? There's no name, and it has the .gitignore. The .gitignore means this is a hidden file. Any file that starts with a dot in Unix is hidden. So I'm just going to create this, but on a Mac, you could do nano, opens a text editor. I could paste in all that stuff. So I just pasted in that gitignore file. This is saying ignore things. The pound signs are comments, right? But what I'm ignoring here is I'm ignoring anything that is in the .idea folder, right? Or the .idea workspace. I'm ignoring all of that stuff because this is stuff that's going to be generated by WebStorm, which I don't want to push to GitHub. All right, so I just copy and drop that gitignore in there. And then Control X right here, it says to exit. So I Control X and I save it and I press enter. So now if I do an LSLA, I've got .gitignore in there. I've got that file in that repo. That's step one. Step two is I want to do a git init. So in there I'm going to do a git init. This is going to initialize this folder as a git repo. It's going to put a bunch of code in there so that Git is now going to track everything that happens in this folder. It's going to allow me to synchronize the folder on my computer with GitHub. And so I do git init. And now if I do an ls-la, it shows the .git folder is in there too, right? .git. So great. I've now created a Git repository on my local computer, and I have a Git repository up at GitHub. I want to connect those two. And so to connect those two, I come back to these instructions. And I've basically done the init, and I've added a file. They say add a README. I added the gitignore. So I need to do a git commit, first commit. And so here I do git add -- all. That's important. So I'm going to git add everything. Because when you work with Git, there's some basic commands that you use. And those basic commands are now, MD is markdown, so it's just a way that you could kind of like, stars means make it, like if I do this, hi from New Zealand, right? And I do this, right? That's going to be like you might do in an email. That's going to make it bold or something, like italicized. But if I do 2, that makes it bold, right? Now it's bold, right? So that's markdown. It's just like, formats based upon what you do just in normal text. So now here's what you use the basic git command. So here's a heading, basic git commands, okay? And your workflow is going to be, and I think bullets are just dashes like that. Your workflow is going to be git status and git add dash dash all and git commit dash m, some message here, and then git push. That's going to be your general workflow with git. That's like 80%, 90% of what you do with git. And then the other things that I just showed you were basic terminal commands. And basic terminal commands are print working directory, ls dash la, list all, right? cd to change into something, and some dir, right? You change into some directory, or you could do a cd, which will takes you up a level. So I need a description for each of these. So print working directory. All right, so look, multiple insertions, right? This is where it comes in. Print working directory, list what's in a directory, list all of what's in a directory, including hidden files. Change directory. Change directory, go into a directory. All right. Print working directory, command plus K, clear out terminal screen. And that is also command plus play. You could also just type clear. Print working directory, ls cd command, and then there's a remove dir directory or file, and it's remove and then directory or file name, or and recursively. So if I had in here, I'm just going to nano or touch, and touch will, I forgot nano. Right. So if I do touch, that doesn't sound right. Touch surf .txt. And ls -la, right? And now have that surfing thing, remove surfing. And yes, right, gone. All right, so there's remove. Or if I do make dir and I don't know, trips, right? ls-la, I now have a trips folder. And so make dir is another good one. I'm calling them directories, but you could call them folders. Makes a directory. So now I have that directory in there, and if I cd into trips, I'm now inside trips, print working directory, I'm inside trips. And then I can make another dir in here and call it Hawaii, right? I did a trip to Hawaii, and I could ls, and I could see that. And if I change and go up a level, I'm back in sample temp, and if I take a look at what's in there, I can now remove recursively with force trips, and it's going to remove trips and everything beneath it. And now if I do my LSLA, trips is gone. Right? So just commands, terminal commands, get status. And so if I do my get status, it tells me there's an untracked file. And so that get status gets us into our workflow here. And there's our workflow, get status. That's that first one. Now I'm going to do get add -- all. Okay, so now I'm going to do get add -- all. And now if I do a get status, we have change to be committed. Okay, change to be committed. And so that's been added to the staging area. And so the way this is working is that I think that does the table. Nope, not a very nice table. So I could look up Markdown, cheat sheet, GitHub. GitHub has a nice Markdown cheat sheet, and I could look to see how to do a table, and I guess I need the things at the beginning and the end too. So, and now let's see if that made my table. Nope, doesn't like that table. But anyhow, close enough. So if you make a change on your computer, right? You make changes on your computer and then you stage them to a staging area. And that's what get add does. And then you commit it and then you push it. And so the staging area, if I had like changes, if I changed dog file 1 HTML, cat1 HTML, dog2.html, and those are all my changes, I might just choose to add dog1 and dog2 to the staging area, and then I'd create a commit message and I'd say, you know, I updated the dog pages. And then I would go back and I'd add cat to the staging area, and I'd create a commit message that says, hey, I've changed the cat page. And then I'd push both of those changes. And so tracking the code, somebody looking at it, my boss might have said, change the dog pages and change the cat pages. And then I separated that, and I changed the dog pages, and I changed the cat pages, and I committed them each individually, because my boss might say, hey, I like the changes to the dog page, but not the cat page. And so my boss would accept the changes to the dog pages, but push back the cat pages. And then I'm like, all right, cool, I got to fix the cat one again. Otherwise, if they'd all been together, he'd just throw it all back to me. And then, you know, I'd have to figure it out. So it's always good to kind of like, each thing you work on, that should be its own commit message, its own commit. And so the staging area allows you to group changes. That's what the staging area does. Does that make sense? That's why you have it. Does that make sense? No, you guys are like, I don't know what's going on in this class, dude. You're like, chill, we're talking about UX, UI. And now you're like, all right, time for the M60 machine guns. No? Not the right analogy?
Well, at least you're recording it on YouTube. You can go back, right?
Yeah.
So, essentially, we're just going back and forth between versions in this, right?
Yeah, you'll see how it works here. It takes a little bit to get your head around it.
So when you're talking about staging it, it's that means like what you're seeing on the screen.
I'll show you.
Okay.
It's like a,
Do you have a link to your GitHub on the class page?
No.
It's going to be every video, though.
It's going to be in every video. You'll know it.
because you can commit, but that doesn't mean it's pushed.
Right.
So
Right.
At that stage, right?
Yeah. So what have I done? So if I go here and I do a get status, right? Hey, I have a new file. It says initial commit, changes to be committed, and so this is in the staging area. And so now in this workflow right here, I've done git status, I've done git add all, now I'm ready to commit. And so I could do git commit -m, and I could say, you know, first commit adds git ignore file. All right, and the -m is a flag that says here's the message. And so now I'm ready to connect my local repository with my remote repository. And I just want to do this right here. Git remote add origin. So that's why this first page, you want to just leave it on this page until you get all this up there. And when you create your repository, I'll show you that in a second, but you get this code right here, and you paste it in. Git remote add origin git at github.com goes to 11 sample temp git. So here I'm connecting my local repository with the one up there on GitHub, and it's called origin because it's the origin from which everybody's going to be pulling code if multiple people are working on this project, and it's the origin to which everybody's pushing code if multiple people are working on this project. Okay? That's why it's called origin, in my words. All right. And so we're just saying git remote, we're adding a remote origin from which everybody will be pulling code and pushing code, and it's at this location, and it's connected to that .git file again right there. And then I do a git push -u, and I have to add in git push -u origin master. All right. And so I'll show you what that means here in a second. And so now I'm pushing my code up onto GitHub. And the result of that is if I come back here and click this, that code's now there. Whoa. So cool. And so now you can start creating directories for this class. All right? And I need you to keep these in sequential order, and I want you to be organized. I don't want crap all over the place. I want either numeric sequence or date sequence. I don't care whichever works for you. I recommend numeric. So what is that going to look like? So I'm here inside of sample temp, right? I'm going to do a make dir 001. Should be plenty to have 100 folders throughout the semester. Or you might go with 001 if you're really ambitious. I might get over 100 or over a 999 folders. That's probably not true. All right, that'll take me through 999. That's a lot. So now there's make dir that, make dir 002, 003, 004, 005. I can make a couple of dirs. Make dir 002, 003, 004, 005. Right now, if I look, I have all these directories. Okay? Nice. So I could do git add --all. And I could do a git commit -m adds beginning dirs. Git push. Everything up to date. It wants something in them first. So I could cd into 001, and I could touch index.html. And so now if I look in there, I've got that. I'm in index 01. I could change, go up a level. And now I could do a git status. Git status. Cool. All right, it's telling me that that's untracked. So now I'm going to do a git add --all. And now if I do a git status, cool, I've got that now. And now I do my git commit -m some message. All right, and then I do my git push. So from now on out, once it's connected, it's just git push. Refresh this. All right, sweet. Pretty cool, right? Mm-hmm. And the neat thing about this, you're going to see the neat thing about it in a bit, but I'll show. All right, so now let's do that one example where, let's say my boss asked me to work in 002 and 003, so change directories 002. And I could do touch dog.html, cat.html, dog2.html. Git status. Print working directory. Change, go up a level. Git status. Your branch is up to date with origin master, and git add file to include what will be committed. Nothing add to commit, but untracked files present. So I need to actually go into each of those files and add something. So ls nano cat.html, and here I could do cat and nano dog.html, dog, and nano dog2.html, dog2. And now why doesn't it show me the files? So there it is. So I could do unstage here. So I don't know the command for that, so I have to look it up. Git unstage file. So you just look it up, git unstage file. There are two ways to unstage a file in Git. And Git remove cache file path does not unstage file. It actually stages the removal of files. Git reset file path will unstage any stage file change. So git reset file path unstages a file. You don't need to know that, but git reset. And I'm going to unstage 002 and cat.html. And now if I do a git status, cool, right? I've got those two changes to be committed in green. There's an untracked file, cat. So I could do git commit -m adds dog files, right? And then I could do a git status, and I could do a git add -- all, and I could do a git status, and I could do a git commit -m adds cat file, and I could do a git push. So when I come here, I now have 02, and I have those files in there. Cat is the text of that file. Dog is the text of that file. Dog2 is the text of that file. And then once I've done that, I could go to my commits, and you could see first commit adds git ignore, adds dir 001 and index.html, adds dog files. Well, I could look at that commit, and here are the two files that got added in this commit. Right? Wow, nice. And then I could come back to my commits, and I can see this last one adds cat file. There's the cat file that got added. And if I was working with people, there'd be a master branch. I would create my own branch off of it, right? And so this is just a little bit more advanced. Git branch -a shows me all my branches. I'm on master locally, and then there's from the remote one, origin, there's a master branch. But I could do a git branch. I could do a git checkout -b and give it a name, and then I could create a branch, do changes on the back branch, and then ask for my branch to be merged into master. And that's how you work together. But I just want you to know this stuff. So you have to create a Git repository. You have to sync it with your computer locally, and you have to be able to use git status, git add, git commit, and git push. And then your file folders all need to be sequential. So just use the 001 naming thing. And then when you need to submit something to me, you're going to build stuff, and you'll say, oh, here it is, Todd, it's in 02. You'll copy that link, and you'll send me that link, and I could go see all your code. And even better yet, you ready for the even better yet? Like if I was to open this file, open project in WebStorm, and I just go to my desktop, that's where I put it, and we called it sample temp. So I just open that, right? And so there's 03. I'd come in here and I could create a file, index.gohtml, and yes, do you want to add the following file to Git? Yes, don't ask me again. Add all my files. And then I could start creating a page here. And so maybe I want to do just h1 hello world. And then I want to style that. So up here I put in my styling, and I say, here's my rule set. There's the selector, and then the declaration block, and the declaration block has properties and values. So the properties color, the value's blue. All right? So I selected all H1s, and I said change the color to blue of the font. And then I come to here, I do my get status, and it says, hey, you've created O3 index, get add -- all, and get status says, okay, that's been staged, is ready to be committed. Okay, get commit -m, adds index with color, and then get push, and look, and there's O3, right? And there's index.html, and so I could grab that index.html, and I could go to a website called raw git, and raw git allows you to paste in the link to an HTML file, and then copy that link, and it serves it on the web. So you just send me the link from raw git, and I see your work done. I don't even have to look at the code. It looks nice. I don't care what code you wrote. It looks good. I care a little bit, but this is a big body of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're covering right here is your work environment and workflow a little bit. We talked about your editors, and we talked about GitHub, and then we saw how raw git allows us to just take a HTML file at GitHub, and raw git grabs that code and then serves it from a web server. So this is out there in the world. I could send this to anybody, right? You all could look at this website.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's live.
it's live.
Oh, cool.
Can you build
Like
it?
you'd submit that to me, and I'd go look at it. And it's live. What?
Oh,
You don't use it for production.
no, just to take a preview of something.
I guess if you wanted to, you could use this URL in production. I wouldn't. All right, what's your question, Eric?
Oh, I was just wondering if you wanted the files in that specific order, so like sample temp and then 001, like the directories to line up. Exactly how you have it.
Oh, I want them all going straight down. You could give names outside after the 001, but I want them in sequential, so I could see your beginning and your end. And I know that the last folder is the last thing you did. So here's how I did it with, and now the last thing I'll show you is how to delete a repo. I don't need this repo. I screwed everything up. Dang it. I got to start over, right? When I was learning this stuff, it happened many times. Go into settings for your repo, scroll to the bottom, delete this repository. Are you sure you want to do it? You got to put in the name. And I'm deleting that repository. That repository is gone. And then on my local computer, I go up a level, ls, and then remove recursively with fourth, sample temp, and I get rid of it on my local computer. And now in WebStorm, that's going to be like, hey, where'd everything go? Done with that, done with this, and then just get rid of sample temp from here. Boom, I no longer want to see that. I just want that. So, right? And so like here, is for the class, the GitHub is HTML CSS Bootcamp, and I've just added a folder in temp here, which is spring, right? So inside of 00temp, I have spring 2017. Well, cool. Let's go there. So on desktop, where is that? It's change directories. Go up a level. Go into documents. Go into HTML CSS Bootcamp. Get status. There's been some changes, right? I added those files. Get add -- all. Add them to the staging area. Get commit -m. Adds introductory files for spring 17 class. Get push. Now you'll notice when you look at this repository, oh no, this isn't the one I did it. I'll show you the one I did in. But now inside 00temp, spring 17, and you've got the sequential. That's useful for you because you guys will know the last thing we covered in class. But this one I named it working with Git. So you could be like, ah, man, that one's right there, working with Git. I got to go look at that README file, and I could go in here and I could see that got screwed up. It's not liking my tables for some reason. But I can see all those commands Todd went through. Any other questions? Last thing I'll show you is that repo, my Golang web dev repo. I made all of the commits. You're doing great. Which wouldn't be what you do in production, but for a class and people taking a class and learning challenging material, that's a nice thing for them to keep seeing. You want to make sure your commits are professional. You don't want them to be stupid because potential employers and clients will be looking at your code. You don't want your commits to be, yo, banging it like a gangsta 69, yo. People will be like, what's this goofball? I don't know if I want to hire this goof. Guy doesn't show good character.
So I have to make this my first few documents.
Is it bad when you do your
But we'll
commits
be
to
going
like have
into your
repetitive, like
GitHub then, huh?
updating content, updating? the
Yeah, it should
community?
be, your commit messages should be self-explanatory. So when your supervisor's looking at the code you want them to accept, he could look at the commit message, or she could look at the commit message, and she could see changed header on index to reflect new verbiage, colon, act now. Closes issue 1074 in GitLab. And then, you know, there'd be issues, and then your boss would know, okay, cool, I know exactly what that's doing.
Okay.
And they'd look at the difference, the code that you've deleted and the code you've added, and they'd say accept, or they'd send it back and they'd say, no, this doesn't cut it. I don't like the fact that you're using tables. You need to use CSS to style and to position that. I want you to use Flexbox for this. Okay, I'll change it. Any other questions?